Welcome back, everybody. More on our breaking news this hour. The U.S. Justice Department says Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who was a top advisor to presidential candidate Donald Trump, spoke twice with Russia's U.S. ambassador during the campaign. But Sessions did not mention those contacts during his Senate confirmation hearing.
Sessions has responded, saying he never met with Russian officials to discuss the campaign. More now from CNN's justice correspondent, Evan Perez.
In addition to the September meeting, there was also one on the sidelines of the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. There was an event held by the Heritage Foundation, and apparently, according to the Justice Department, there were about 50 or so ambassadors who were there, and one of the people that was on the sidelines of it and who met with the now Attorney General Jeff Sessions was Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador. Now, the context of all of this, and obviously the Washington Post, my friends Adam Entis and Greg Miller and Ellen Nakashima did a great job on the story, but the context here is that Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador, is considered by U.S. intelligence to be essentially their top spy in Washington. And not only their top spy, but their top spy recruiter. This is the reason why when Mike Flynn was in routine and seemingly routine contact with him, and then lied about it and misled the vice president about meeting with Kislyak, that's one reason why the intelligence agencies and why the FBI were very concerned, because they felt that, you know, if you're going to meet with the guy and not recall or mislead when you are asked about it, then that raises some questions. Again, this is he's considered to be the top spy recruiter for the Russians in Washington, and that's one reason why that is raising as a concern.
Back with us now, Republican consultant John Thomas and Democratic strategist Robin Swanson.
And from Moscow, CNN senior international correspondent Matthew Chance.
Okay, before the break, we touched on the issue of the implications here in terms of perjury. This is a tweet from Richard Painter. He is the former ethics lawyer to President George W. Bush, and this is what he put out on Twitter. Misleading the Senate in sworn testimony about one's own contacts with the Russians is a good way to go to jail. John, that is from a Republican. And just, in the past, Sessions back in 1999 made it very clear that anybody who committed perjury should be removed from office. So if we get to that point, would that same standard apply to the Attorney General?
I would imagine it would.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no getting around it. Now, put that tweet in context. Remember, there's big rifts between the Bush clan, the Trump clan, so probably enjoyed tweeting that out, but it is a fair point nonetheless.
Robin?
Jeff Sessions was out front criticizing Bill Clinton back in the day and wanted to impeach him for similarly misleading so far. So I just think that, the hypocrisy definitely is there.
Well, Bill Clinton lied under oath.
Well, he's under oath talking to the Senate as well. So I think that, this is same.
Does this just overtake the White House for the next 24 hours?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think they have not been able to control a news cycle. They really wanted to be able to do the, just have a ticker tape parade for the great speech, but that's not going to happen. And I would say more than 24 hours, that the Russia Gate, as it's being called, is going to extend for many months, if not the entirety of his presidency, because that's what he has outlined.
Well, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, no fan of Russia, he was asked about the situation with Jeff Sessions during a CNN town hall. He was also asked if he believes that now there is a need for a special prosecutor, which the administration and the Senate leader Mitch McConnell have resisted. Listen to Senator Graham.
If there is something there and it goes up the chain of investigation, it is clear to me that Jeff Sessions, who is my dear friend, cannot make this decision about Trump. So there may be nothing there, but if there's something there that the FBI believes is criminal in nature, then for sure you need a special prosecutor. If that day ever comes, I'll be the first one to say it needs to be somebody other than Jeff.
John, last night, 24 hours ago, I think it was, I asked you specifically the night before last, I think it was, how long can the administration resist the push for a special prosecutor? You said they can resist it for a long time. Now that the Republicans like Graham and Darrell Issa are inching towards that position, does it get harder?
Much harder. And Republicans have to tread lightly here. Their integrity in this process of sniffing out what happened has to be beyond reproach. Senator Graham made the right call. He's not jumping to conclusions, but we have to make sure that the process is transparent and conflicts of interest are weeded out, because the American people have to trust that no matter what Congress or the investigators find is the truth.
Who leads the charge now for the Democrats in the days ahead?
Well, I think they're all jumping on board, and I think Nancy Pelosi was one of the first out of the box to calling on Jeff Sessions to resign, so I think we'll see more of that. And I think this is one of those rare occasions where I can say I completely agree with Senator Lindsey Graham.
Okay, we're day 42 or 41 into this administration. We've already had the National Security Advisor have to resign. There's another scandal involving Russia. And on Wednesday, during the President's, or Tuesday, I think, during the President's address to Congress, never mentioned Russia at all. Senator John McCain said for him that was disappointing. Listen to this.
I would have liked to have heard a lot more about Russia. Russia is the country that tried to change the elections in the United States. I don't think they succeeded. Right now, they're affecting or trying to affect the elections in March. They've dismembered Ukraine. They've invaded Georgia. The list goes on and on. Vladimir Putin is hell-bent on destruction of the European Union. So that I would have appreciated hearing the President's views on these pressing national security issues.
Okay, let's go to Matthew Chance, live in Moscow this hour. So, Matthew, there is another scandal involving Russia and the U.S. administration. The lower house is actually beginning its own investigation into allegations Russia meddled into the investigation. It is a story which, as much as this administration would like for it to go away, it keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, the Russia issue just won't go away from the Trump administration, will it? It's already had a couple of people that have had to leave his administration, his campaign, because of their links with Russia, and now these questions over the Attorney General as well. From a Russian point of view, I mean, it's all very concerning as they watch this political drama unfold in Washington, because they're concerned about what this is going to have, what impact this is going to have on US policy when it comes to Russia. They were expecting, of course, President Trump, who was going to be sympathetic to the Russian point of view on a whole range of issues, from Ukraine to NATO to Syria. But because the Russia issue has become so toxic in American politics, that started to change. Certainly the language has started to change from Trump administration officials, particularly at the United Nations Security Council and in other areas as well, being a lot more critical than many in the Kremlin had expected from this incoming Trump administration. Specifically on the latest allegations, there's been no reaction as such to the specifics of the conversations, the alleged conversations between the Russian ambassador and the U.S. Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. But there has been pushback on this idea that the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, is the top Russian spy in the United States. Do you think this is the media bottom, posts the spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, or does the media have further to fall? So a strong pushback there from the Russian Foreign Ministry on this suggestion that Sergei Kislyak is a spy.
Okay, Matthew, thank you. Matthew Chance, senior international correspondent, with us live this hour in Moscow.
John, let me ask you this. Do you expect President Trump to weigh in on this personally in the hours ahead? Do you expect him to take to Twitter?
I should check my Twitter in a couple hours, because I bet you he will. And I have something to do. It'll start accusing fake news, but I do think the White House is going to take this very seriously, because if they don't, it can escalate and get out of hand.
If he does try the fake news excuse, that's getting a bit old, isn't it, Robin?
Well, especially when Republicans and people of his own party are calling him out.
Well, the problem is people are jumping to conclusions before we know all the facts.
That's true.
And that's the fake part.
Okay, good point. Okay, stay with us. Good.